I want to do a video here showing how to hook up the steering wheel controls on one of the many Chinese brand Android car stereos out there. The car stereos are really cool, but a lot of people have an issue hooking up the steering wheel controls. There's not really much info out there, and trying to ask the customer service, you're dealing with broken English, and they usually just really don't understand what you're talking about. So all the Chinese radios that I know of, the Joing, Pumpkin brand, whatever, they all have usually 2 wires input for steering wheel controls. Usually it's labeled key 1 and key 2. That one's a little melted there. And what they're looking for is a resistance difference. Every time you press your steering wheel key, it has to put out a different resistor value. Every car puts out its own different data signal factory to work with the factory radio. So like, for instance, this car, what most people would do, there's a single steering wheel control on the main harness here. They'll cut that and they'll attach it to key 1, and it doesn't work. And then they leave negative reviews saying the radio sucks or whatever. It doesn't work that way. Now this technique, I came up with it about a year ago when I had my Pumpkin brand. I'm switching to Joing. It's got a new quad core. And they all work the same. You could probably use this with Fords, any other car out there. What you're going to need is something to take your steering wheel control signal and convert it into a resistance value. And the best way to do that is one of these, let's see if I can get it here, PAC modules. You can find these on eBay, probably about $20 to $50 depending on which one you get. You don't really need anything fancy. You can get one of the older ones. Now the older ones were actually designed per manufacturer. So like if you had a Pioneer radio, you would buy the Pioneer Sony one, or if you had a JVC radio, you would buy like one for JVC and Kenwood. Now I know the one for Pioneer and Sony works, so that's the one I'm using here. This is one of the newer ones. There's actually a dial indicator here, so you can change it to whatever brand radio you have. I have it set for Pioneer right now. Now there's all kinds of wires coming into it. My car, all I need is ignition, power, ground, and then the steering wheel wire. There's a single wire on this car that controls steering wheel controls. Every car is different. They come with a really good instruction sheet how to hook it up. So hook it up the way it says for your vehicle. For Pioneer or Sony, same thing. And basically the output of it is, to get the resistance value, is a standard 3.5 millimeter headphone jack plug. That's it. So now you're probably asking, well, how the hell do I plug that into the new Chinese brand Android car stereo? I went down to Radio Shack and I bought a 3.5 millimeter jack here. They're really cheap. I got a 3-pack for about $3, and I have to solder wires to the large terminal on the bottom that kind of wraps around, and the top terminal. There's a side terminal too. I broke that one off. It doesn't do anything. So basically this plugs into the pack unit to get your resistance value, and then the 2 wires that you solder off of this jack here, the 3.5 millimeter jack, solder to key 1 and key 2. It doesn't matter which one you go to which. Resistance is not polarity sensitive. So let's hook it up and see how it does. Okay, I have my plug plugged in here. As you can see, the little tip touches the wraparound big piece, and then the other wire is connected internally. I have my resistance meter, my multimeter, hooked up to key 1 and key 2, and here's my resistance. So I'll press volume up, 15 ohms, volume down, 24 ohms. And really, when you go into the radio, which I'll show next, basically it's just looking for whatever resistor value you program. So every key is different. Now the only problem with, I know my car, the Pontiac Trans Am, there's 8 buttons, and for some reason 2 of them, there's 2 pairs that are the same. The seek up and the AM FM actually give the exact same resistance. So this is volume up, I'm sorry, seek up 8.7, and AM FM 8.7, and then seek down 12.3, and the preset button 12.1. They're too close together. The Android radio cannot distinguish them, so I'm only going to be able to program 6 buttons, not 8. Every car manufacturer, of course, is different. That's just how this car works. Now, if somehow it works on Pioneer and Sony, it'll actually tell the difference between those 2 different presses, even though it's the exact same resistance value. So that's that. Let me hook up the rest of the radio and I will show you how to program your keys. Okay, and here's how to program your steering wheel controls. Pick your key. It tells you to define. Hold down your key and it's defined. Volume down. Let's do mute. And that's pretty much how you program all your keys. So thank you for watching. I hope this helped you install your steering wheel controls.